1900s, Brenda. In the 20th century, we saw the rise of the technology era with the rise of cars, airplanes, space travel, computers, and the internet. We saw two world wars. We saw the rise of the Federal Reserve and the global government. We see the rise of media formats, which would include things like radio, telephones, movies, theaters, shows, television, cable, and music videos. President William McKinley was killed during the first decade of the 1900s, the 20th century. The first decade was also known as it was known as the Edwardian era. The secret meeting at Jekyll Island was held, and World War I happened in the 1910s. The economy boomed during the roaring 20s. Gold was banned during the Great Depression of the 1930s. World War II ended in the 1940s. Soldiers came home and started making babies, which is also known as the beginning of the baby boomers. The Cold War started after that in the 1950s. I've dubbed the 1950s as the Golden 50s. JFK was murdered by government during the swing 60s. America got involved with the war in Vietnam. Star Wars premiered in the 70s. Home computers and video games exploded in the 80s. Princess Diana died during the Princess Diana died in 97 during the Clinton 90s. Here are three world leaders meeting in the 1940s at the Yalta Convention. FDR, Churchill, and Stalin. Oh, typo. Man, typo. I wrote Stain instead of Stalin. Gotta fix that. 1990s. First decade. I mentioned this already. Something about the Ottoman being restored. Titanic in the 1910s. Mexican Revolution. Cancel culture with Germany in the Olympics. Jekyll Island. 1920s. The rise of the Jazz Age. Great Depression started in 1929. There was another depression too around 1921, but that only lasted for like a year. But the Great Depression of 1929 went on into the 1930s for many years. And then we had these other people, and you had the beginning of World War II. And you have these, advertisements. People are trying to recruit people to join the army. And you got something about Roswell in the late 1940s. Allegedly. The rise of the UN. America dropping bombs on Japan to end World War II. It didn't exactly end right away, but that was a major thing. Then you have the Nuremberg Code, the Nuremberg trials. You got the rise of Elvis in the 1950s. Also in the 1950s, Disneyland, McDonald's, NASA. The Declaration of the United Nations was around 1942. There was the Cold War. You got the rise of John F. Kennedy, and he was trying to bring back real money, but then they killed him for it. You got the Vietnam War. It was more like a civil war between the North and South, and other countries were involved. And so they kill JFK, and then they say anybody who talks about JFK is a conspiracy theorist. It started back then. Rise of Star Wars in the 1970s. rise of Michael Jackson in the 1980s, and computers and video games and AT&T and Bell system they were broken up. Princess Diana dying in the 1990s, and a bunch of random stuff like that, as I mentioned earlier. And those are highlights from the 20th century, the 1900s.